Good evening and welcome to a special live stream as we react to the FOMC decision to cut rates by 25 basis points. Another cut as predicted. The markets were well aware of what was happening and we can see a bit of a sell-off as the news was announced, but as we always know, the main announcements, the main action at the FOMC, if you like that term, is in the press conference. So drop a like on the stream. Get comfy. We are going to go through what this means for markets. We're going to look at some price action and we'll bring you all the latest reaction as the press conference kicks off. So the Fed cut interest rates by 25 basis points to a target range of 3.75% to 4%. At the same time, we had some dissents. So Fed Chairman Schmid dissented. He didn't want any rate cut. We had Moran dissenting. He wanted a 50 basis point cut. And the Fed has also said they're going to stop QT as of December the 1st. So as predicted, we don't get an end to QT right now, but we get an announcement of the shrinking of the balance sheet ending in Q4 of 2025, December the 1st, which sets us up, as we've been saying, for a hugely bullish 2026. I do think this will be bullish for markets. I don't think the fact that it's December the 1st is a massive impact to markets. If we get follow through this week with a US-China deal, I do believe that markets will go into a melt up between now and Christmas, especially with the fact that they know this liquidity shrinkage, this liquidity suction out the market is going to end in just over 30 days. So really bullish for markets. Let's see what the press conference brings. We'll go round some of the news in a second as well. But yeah, if you're just joining us, 25 basis points. Fed will stop QT as of December the 1st. And Moran, the Fed chairman, wanted a bigger cut. So we will see where the odds put us for the next meeting. Although it might not be updated yet. We'll check in on that. Let's have a look what some of the news stations are saying. So, as we've just reported, CNBC saying that it was a 10-2 vote. So 10 people voting in favour of 25 basis points. One wanting no cut, one wanting a bigger cut. Apparently they don't have access to the data because of the shutdown. Utter nonsense. If that's true, that's an absolute disgrace. I just don't believe it's true. Of course they have access to the data. Of course they know what's going on in the economy. The economy is weakening despite the stock market. So everybody thinks the economy is really hot, it's really strong because of the stock market. The stock market only benefits a small fraction of real people. The majority of people have paycheck to paycheck, credit card debt, car loan debt, mortgage debt. They need interest rates lower because they're feeling the pinch because of inflation from the past 5 years. So yeah, crazy. The Fed's trying to strike a balance between full employment and stable prices. Full employment's done. Full employment's not a thing anymore. You saw the layoffs coming in this week. The economy is going to shift massively. We're going to see a period of massive GDP growth, massive earnings growth for some of the top companies without hiring extra people. Normally to achieve growth, you need to employ people to produce stuff. Those days are gone. AI, robotics mean that full employment's a myth and it's never coming back. Markets have been anticipating that the Fed would end QT either in October or by the end of the year. The Fed expanded its holdings during the COVID crisis by $4 trillion to $9 trillion. Utterly insane. They've been bringing it down. Let's actually check in on the Fed's balance sheet. It's laughable, to be honest. Let's look at it on the weekly. So yeah, so we got as high as 9 trillion, got it down to 6.6 trillion. This is going to taper off and we'll probably see some QE and we'll be back at all-time highs by the middle of 2026, I would imagine. Let's look at the markets. So 15-minute candle, just because we do get some whipsaw action, as you're seeing. Bitcoin trading at $111,400. I think everyone was pretty much telegraphed. I'll be interested to see what Powell says in the press conference. That'll really give us an insight into how quick we can see QE. So QT will end, but does that mean they're looking at QE already? I'll also be interested to see what he says about the central bank reserves. They slipped under the 10% of GDP marker that the Fed uses as a gauge. So I'm interested to see if he comments on that. And yeah, we'll see over the next 48 hours how the markets digest the news. Ethereum just slipping below $4,000, but I think this is just a try and take out some leverage trades. You normally see these big moves at FOMC, these candles genuinely happen. I also think if I was trying to liquidate people, now that that news is out, a lot of people will pile into longs. So there might be another kind of quick move later this evening, maybe into tomorrow, just to try and catch out late longs before the markets ultimately melt up. Let's check on the stock market as well. Got Dow Jones, new all-time high today, slightly retreated but still in the green. S&P 500, all-time high, down on the day but at all-time high, so no real issues. Nasdaq, all-time high today. Russell 2000, just consolidating at all-time high. That is bullish. That is so bullish. And tonight we have Microsoft earnings, we have Meta earnings, and we have Google earnings. Google at all-time high today. Before tomorrow, we have Amazon and Apple earnings. Amazon with another outage today. Wonder how that'll impact their earnings. And then we've got MicroStrategy tomorrow. MicroStrategy, just crazy bearish FUD, whatever you want to call it on MicroStrategy. I mean, no financial advice, but MicroStrategy looks a buy to me. Just, yeah, come back to this area, which was two previous CME gaps from February and from November. That looks like a bullish area. They're also going to post a massive earnings beat tomorrow, I would imagine, despite Wall Street predicting a loss. No idea how they get that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how earnings react tomorrow night. All right, let's see what Kobayashi letter. They're normally pretty good on these big news events. Yeah, so here's the summary. Pretty much what we've said. Inflation remains elevated, but the downside risks to employment have risen. Yeah, the Fed is pivoting. About time. They're way behind the curve. They should have pivoted about 6 months ago. They're probably about 1% too high, so about 100 basis points too high, in my opinion. But I think what we'll see is they'll have to move to catch up pretty soon. And I think if we get a new Fed chair, that'll help with that. Let's see if the odds have changed. So December, we got another rate cut, 87.5%. January, still up for debate whether we get another one. To be fair, it's the favourable option. Maybe a 50 basis point cut in January. That would be crazy. That would be insane. All right, let's see who's all in. We've got A98RJ. As always, we've got B-Don. We've got Fally, who was first in. I think Fally's been on this stream since I posted it a couple of hours ago. We've got Deck, Ben, and Lee, the crypto guy. Good to have anyone here that's not in CC Pro. Niall says anyone in the chat should have their bags packed a long time ago. The volatility of the past month is meaningless. Sit back, hold tight, execute per X as planned. Did you make a plan? So, yeah, I think Niall's right to a certain extent, but I do understand why people... Somebody actually messaged me earlier and said that he was confused as to why sentiment was so bearish. And I think sentiment is mega bearish, but there's just a negativity everywhere. I tweeted about it earlier. It's like people are bearish on crypto, they're negative on AI, they're negative on Tesla, they're just negative. It's not even just bearish that they think stock prices and crypto's going to drop. They're just negative about anything. But a lot of the time they don't have substance to back it up. So they're just posting bearish things like Tesla's going to go to $80 a share. That's just never going to happen. People talking about Bitcoin crashing, it's going to be the worst crash ever. Might happen in a year, we might get some flash crashes, but institutions around BlackRock don't typically buy an asset and then allow it to crash. Like, they'll let it retrace so they can scoop up some cheap Bitcoin, but I don't think we're going to see an 80% crash anytime soon, but I think there's just a lot of negativity. But I think the main driver of it is this here. This timeline is just sapping all energy out of people. 112 days since we really made any decent moves in the market. That 100 days is just absolutely killing people's sentiment right now. And I think that's what it is more than bearishness. I think it's just frustration. I think it's just boredom, just completely fed up with up one day, down the next, up a little bit. I think it's just that chop that really kills sentiment more than up or down. But I think we will get some resolution to it. I think this week we've said on stream, we've said it in CC Pro, this is a key week for the market direction, because regardless of what happens, bullish or bearish, investors are going to get clarity. They know what's coming. They know they're going to get another rate cut in December. There's no Fed meeting in November. So they know they've got clarity till the end of the year in terms of rates, which is bullish. They know they're going to get an NTQT by the end of the year, which is bullish. We'll get some resolution to US-China, whether it's whatever the agreement is, it doesn't really matter. Any agreement is better than none. So we'll get that clarity. But then also what people are ignoring is the US-China thing's about more than just trade. If it's a 50% tariff, 100% tariff, or 10% tariff, nobody actually cares. Once it's in place, at least everybody knows the rules of the road. People can invest based on the rules. But on top of that, if China does agree to a trade deal, it probably reduces the risk of a Taiwan invasion. So that gives more clarity, more certainty, and more calmness to the markets. So by the end of this week, by the start of next week, we'll have a lot of clarity about what's coming in the markets over the next kind of 3 to 6 months. That will allow investors to deploy capital in a big way, risk on returns, which I think is why we're seeing gold start to cool off. As soon as we start to see these good headlines, gold just kind of takes a back seat. And that's going to be very bullish for crypto. And then, of course, we've got the overhanging shutdown, which will end pretty soon. I would imagine it's starting to bite at politicians' fundraising and their voters. So I would imagine that'll start to resolve itself over the next probably 7 days. I would imagine by the middle of November there's no shutdown. I can't see it going beyond kind of the 10th of November. So that is more bullish for markets than just one story. It's all the combination of that. And then if we get some regulation pro-crypto, I think we are off to the races before Christmas. Let's have a look and see. Ross says, are we still bullish on Borg? We'll cover Borg in a second. What's my thoughts on Nomu? Now it's live. Jamie's asking about sentiment. Yeah, Ben, I think that's the case. I think that's the point, really, is markets don't necessarily need the thing to happen. They just need to know what's happening. So QE coming in December is bullish for markets. I've said for a while, I do think we'll get some chop. And one of the biggest reasons is we do have a CME gap still. We've started to fill a little bit of it. So let's take the screen off the... That was a previous CME gap. Let's just draw it on. So we do have this CME gap that is still in play. So we're pretty much filled. We're so close to being filled. We got as low as 111,555 earlier. It's literally another $300-400 to go, and then we fill that gap. That would be really bullish if we could fill that tonight. That kind of sets us up for a nice weekend pump, in my opinion. I also noticed that I think CME are reporting earnings this week. I'd be interested to see if they make any comment on going 24 hours, 7 days a week, because there is a lot of talk that'll come pretty soon. While we're waiting on the press conference, let's run through the usuals. So Borg down a little bit, 43 cents. I think this is indicative of the market and just altcoins right now. Everybody's just kind of waiting for the next leg to begin. I would imagine people are just securing some profits just in case we are at the end of the cycle, which we're not. But there's a lot of chat that we are. And I think as well as like you have to remember that a lot of Swissborg and Borg holders are retail investors, and they are influenced by, obviously we're all retail investors, but they're all, a lot of Swissborg holders are, that's maybe the first crypto, maybe the only app they use, maybe not got the wide variety of crypto education that some people have. So they're reading these things, they're seeing all these big influencers post that it's the end of the 4-year cycle, the top's in, things like that. Probably has an element of let's secure some profit before the end of the year, because they're probably looking at every other altcoin they hold, which is down massively. So I think Borg will be fine. I think the next leg up, Borg's going to absolutely fly to $1. I think we just need that kind of wave of movement, price action in the market, and until we get that, I think most altcoins will probably do the same. We'll probably get this chop. Total 2 is basically doing the exact same. Total 3 same, and the others chart exact same. So yeah, no worries about Borg at all. It's just a case of being patient right now, and I think the buybacks are happening. They'll take effect to price, and then it's really just about getting rid of some of this sell pressure. If you're in CC Pro, I posted a post about Bitcoin distribution a few days ago. I think it's really an important post to understand is that when we see these massive runs in price, big holders will offload some of their holdings. So Bitcoin whales have been selling aggressively since kind of end of August. That's bullish for the market, because that means single entities don't control as much of the supply. It distributes the tokens, but it also means the new buyers have a higher cost basis than these whales. So these whales that were buying Bitcoin at like $200, now somebody's bought that coin off them at $100,000, $115,000. They're not going to sell when Bitcoin gets to 130. They're going to wait for like 200,000. The exact same things happening with Borg, in my opinion, is people that have been holding, maybe they missed selling in, if you were buying down in here, down 9 cents area, maybe you were holding since here and you didn't take profit in the last run, you're up maybe 20x, maybe 10x. But compared to all your other altcoin holdings, it's probably massively outperformed so far. So securing some profit is one, not a terrible idea. But the other thing is, it's bullish for price long term, because it gets these OG holders with low average buy prices out of the market, and it just frees up supply into the hands of people that are going to hold for $+ prices. So long term, it's actually bullish. It's just key distribution. You see it across all assets. And it's nothing to really worry about. Yeah, I mean, obviously we want Borg to be a lot higher than it is right now, but I think that just comes with the next leg in crypto. And the other thing is, everybody going into this week had a different perspective on what was going to happen. So there will be a lot of de-risking around the Fed, around the end of the 4-year cycle, around all the news stories that are dropping this week. Let's see what else is happening. Do I think buybacks could push the price down? Are you surprised how far some alts like DOT dropped and stayed around $3 at this stage? So, do I think No, I think buybacks are really bullish for price. End off, like there's buy pressure. But what Swissborg are also doing is they're doing a lot of trading competitions just now. So if you've seen, I think they've got one coming soon with a token. But for example, Nomu went live this week, and there's a trading competition. So if you buy so much tokens, you get entered into a draw and you can win Borg as a prize. But that Borg is bought off the market by Nomu for Swissborg to distribute, and they're doing that with a lot of tokens right now. So it's not just the buybacks, there's a lot of other buy pressure coming out of the Borg token from other projects. So I think we'll see that grip the market, but it's like anything. we see it with Bitcoin all the time. There is a massive amount of buy pressure on Bitcoin, and there's not a lot of supply coming on to the market, but the price doesn't move, and then all of a sudden it explodes higher. I think that's what we'll see with Borg. I think we just need to get through this kind of initial period since the keynote. Once the market kicks off again, we'll get up past $1 easy. I'm not surprised how far alts. I'm probably not surprised how far they dropped. It's not that. It's probably not how far they dropped in terms of price. It's more when they've dropped. So normally we would have seen them trade at these lows in here and then kind of chop around before the bull run. Making a new low at this stage is probably the strangest thing, but we also have a Bitcoin ETF versus a crypto ETF. Bitcoin sucked up a lot of liquidity. We've got the Fed still tightening their balance sheet, even today, still tightening. So we do have a lot of factors that go against altcoins, which will flip bullish very soon. And if you actually look at this, this story here by Kobayashi Letter, market concentration, this is in stocks, hits a record high. So the top 10 US stocks reflect 41.4% of the S&P's market cap. Exact same as what's happening in crypto. If you look at Bitcoin dominance, 60%, and then you've got ETH dominance up at 13% pretty much. So 73%. And then what's stablecoins? Stablecoins are 7%. So 80% of the market is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins. That means the entire market cap of crypto, only 20% is divided by every altcoin, every project, apart from stablecoins, ETH, and Bitcoin. That's an insane stat, and that's just liquidity. That's just concentration. As soon as that reverses, it's going to be very bullish. But that's why we're seeing price action in altcoins. But like that is a crazy move in the market that we've probably not seen it as extreme at this stage in the cycle. But like I've said before, the 4-year cycle is not a thing anymore. It's all about liquidity, and we have had a massive lack of liquidity in the market this year, when this normally would be the bullish liquidity year. But I think we will see it catch up pretty quickly, probably starting in December. But definitely the markets will start sniffing it out very soon. And you can see that even with this. This is the reverse repo, which is basically the reserves from the banks down massively. It's just sucking liquidity out of the system. So, and then you've got the central bank balance sheet. So everything is down when it comes to liquidity. So it shouldn't really come as too much a surprise, I guess, that altcoins are struggling. Not ideal, but we just need to put up with it. All right, let's see what else is happening. Oh yeah, I saved this just to, yeah. This is the problem with Twitter right now. These people are so loud. You know, many expecting a 25 basis point. This guy saying that there's going to be a 25 basis hike. People are just farming for clickbait. There's so little excitement in the markets. People literally tweet anything just to get a bit of clickbait, a bit of engagement on their tweets. It's embarrassing, to be fair. Let's see. Somebody asked about Nomu. So Nomu is pretty early. Let me load up text screener. So I bought some Nomu. I've still got it. I was hoping for a better performance. I think everybody was, to be fair. I don't think. I mean, it was launched at 1.5 million FTV. I think my average price is maybe about 2 million FTV. I actually told somebody what my price was, so I can find it. Yeah, my average buy price was 0.00617. Let's see where that is. So that was down here. So I got a decent entry, to be fair. But yeah, I thought I would go much higher. I thought there would be more buy pressure. But to be honest, it doesn't necessarily surprise me when you look at the market. Like, it's just dead. It's just so quiet. Engagement is probably at an all-time low for this time, and especially with the prices. Like, Bitcoin's still $111,000. But I think that flash crash a few weeks ago on the 10th really wiped out a lot of just any optimism in the market. Got absolutely crushed that day. Even if people weren't leverage trading, I think people just were fed up after that. But nothing brings hype, nothing brings positivity like a bit of price action. If Bitcoin pumps to 120k over the next couple of weeks, the markets will be frothy, everybody will be bullish, projects will be doing crazy launches, we'll do airdrops again, we'll see loads of hype return, because it's just a flick of a switch. It's really quick. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. Yeah, Cognizant's up for some banter by the looks of it. Now Monero also steady creep up since August. Yeah, Monero's doing pretty well. So it should, to be fair. It is. Yeah, I think we did this on stream. We said that we thought Monero would do really well. Didn't get stopped, to be fair, but I mean, if you took this trade and didn't get stopped out, you're up 27%. Not bad. Yeah, slow, steady grind up. I think these privacy coins have had quite a nice run, and they kind of highlight what we've always said is different narratives have different times in the market where they're really strong. Right now, privacy coins seem to be doing really well. You've got Zcash up, absolutely flying. I was actually speaking to somebody that's got Zcash. I doubt she's on stream, but she messaged me saying she had Zcash. So she's laughing. Made some very nice profit, and this is what happens when a narrative takes hold. Some coins are just going to absolutely fly. So what's this? The 2nd of October, it kind of broke out of its range, and it's currently up 360% in 26 days, and it's a decent market cap, I'm sure, Zcash. So yeah, all while we're saying, you know, altcoins have barely ran, zero liquidity. So yeah, pretty exciting. And that just gives you a taste of what will happen when the narrative flips on a specific coin. Alright, Jerome Powell should be going live in a second. I'll try and bring you updates as they come in, and we'll go through it. I think what will be interesting is what he says about the state of the economy, and especially the bank reserves, because, I mean, I'm no expert, but I would be pretty concerned if the $3 trillion mark that I earmarked as the bomb has been broken. Yeah, carves a long-term thing, Jamie. Right, let's see if we can. We're not going to play the video, obviously, but let's see if we can bring some updates as he speaks. CNBC website is terrible. Maybe just go to their Twitter. Yeah, we'll see what updates come in. As Paul's speaking, as always, it's a bit of a charade, to be honest, because it's all prepped ahead of time. Like, I don't understand how it takes 2 days for them to come up with these decisions when the market already knew what was coming. Let's put this down on the 15-minute time frame as well, because we'll get a bigger gauge of what's actually going on in the speech by the price action. By the way, this is top tier. Not that I'm sponsored or anything. For anyone new to the stream, while we are waiting on some updates coming in from Powell speaking, if you're not aware, we run a private members community. It's called CC Pro. It is a Discord community where we basically help people make as much money as possible. We have daily members updates, we have crypto education, we've got tutorials, we show people how to buy crypto, stay safe in crypto, copy trading, we've got a podcast. We also do members only live streams. So if you're watching this stream and you've never tuned in to one before, we also do members only live streams. We've done one on Sunday night. So yeah, if you're not familiar, I'll drop the link in the chat. Sign up. Everybody is of a similar mindset, try to make as much money as possible, try to secure as much profit for this market as possible, and we'll help people stay safe as well. Yeah, that'll be interesting as well to see what the dot plot shows, like how many rate cuts do they actually expect over the next probably year, I would say. Because in my eyes, they need to drop rates, and every person that wants to be the replacement for Powell is talking about cutting rates faster than Powell is. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully they announce his replacement pretty soon as well, and then we'll get a gauge of how bullish or bearish the markets are. Let's have a look at gold, see what gold is doing. Up on the day, less than 1%. Let's see. This is the point we've been highlighting. This was the massive run up in 2020. We got to August in 2020 for gold, absolutely ripping, and then it went into a massive consolidation period. If this time is similar, this is when Bitcoin absolutely exploded. So yeah, be interested to see if gold does the same now. I don't think gold will drop too far, but I do think it could cool off for a bit, and then I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 12 months we see a $5,000, $6,000 gold price, because they're just going to debase the currency at an insane rate. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. I think not to bang on about CC Pro, because like realistically these streams we could add adverts or we could put promos on and charge for it, but we don't monetize it like that. We just, you know, we've got a Discord community, so we're going to talk about it. But I think the biggest thing about CC Pro, for anyone that's not in CC Pro, there's educational comment, but it's not, we give our opinion, and we give you our opinion based on what we are doing with our money at that time. So if we talk about a Swissborg Alpha deal, better believe we've already put money in, sometimes a lot of cash. You've seen that recently with Galactica, Blue Whale, OG Network or Zero G Labs, and we're also not afraid to call people out and tell it how it is. So yeah, we give educational content, we give your opinions, we're kind of just straight to the point, I feel. So that's a big bonus. And then you have a chat room, so you can actually talk to like-minded investors, which is pretty rare right now, when, especially if you're in the UK, like the information and people's awareness of crypto is scarily low. But AI is very similar. People just have no clue what is going on. So Bitcoin selling off a little bit. I think it's hard to make any decisive decisions based on crypto during an FOMC, for the simple reason that the markets are volatile, because all it takes is Powell to say one wrong word and the algorithms and the bots dump price. So I think normally the US stock market open tomorrow will be more impactful. The weird thing about this FOMC is you've got big earnings tonight as well. So there's just a lot going on this week. And I've said for a couple of weeks now, it's probably a week where you want to just, maybe not de-risk, but just sit on the sidelines. If you've got capital to deploy and you see something that looks cheap or it's down 3 or 4% in a day, that's probably a good opportunity to buy. But I think it's just going to be one of those weeks where a green day means nothing because the next day could be an absolute bloodbath, and vice versa. So I think by the weekend we'll get an idea of direction, and I think November's going to be bullish. I think we're going to have a really strong end of the year, and I think everybody forgets, and I keep sharing this on stream, XRP is my favourite example of this, but if we go back to this period back last year, XRP was in the absolute dumpster. 25th of October, we were at 49 cents. We had a little pump into the end of October. End of the month, we sold off. Started November, back below 50 cents. And then what happened? We absolutely exploded to new all-time high and had a little correction and then went again. So it just shows you how quick we can move. If you look, this was the 5th of November, 49,997, so call it 50 cents. And by the 3rd of December, we had moved 482% in XRP, which is a top market cap crypto. So everybody remembers Q4 last year being so bullish, all-time highs. Everybody was feeling great about the market. Well, they weren't at the end of October. Everybody was raging. We were getting mad DMs about XRP was dead, and people were selling XRP to go and buy Cashback. All this trash was going on, and literally within a week, it exploded nearly 500%. Just reminder as well, tonight we've got Meta, Microsoft, Google earnings, Starbucks as well, I think, unless they reported earlier. And then we've also got Amazon MicroStrategy, which is the big one for me tomorrow night. We've got Apple and MasterCard earnings tomorrow. So a lot of things that are going to move the market as Bitcoin dumps to 110k. Let's pull up the price. It does mean that we're going to fill the CME gap, which is bullish. We've said it all day. Can we get... Interestingly, CME's not selling off like spot price. What does that tell you about who's dumping Bitcoin right now? As usual, Binance, I would imagine I would imagine it's Wintermute and Binance dumping crypto as we speak. 109,000 on the Binance chart, 111,000 on the CME chart. Almost 112k. So quite interesting. Still got a few $100s to fill on CME. Meanwhile, Binance absolutely dumps the price. Just absolutely crazy how this goes on. But we did say this. I said this at the start of the stream. Said it for a couple of days. Market makers love big news events. This is a bullish move for markets. It's bullish for crypto. There we go. Powell says another rate cut in December is not a foregone conclusion. So the market makers use that as an excuse to dump price. Well, unfortunately for Powell, it's an 85% chance. I would say it's actually an 85% chance. And we've got, a month to go. I would say Powell's onto plums. I think it is a foregone conclusion. I think he's just trying to calm markets. We've also got the 3 month. If you look at the 3 month on the daily time frame, you can see we are down, getting closer to that 3.75% area. So yeah, 2 year 3.57, a bit of bounce today, probably with his comments. But I would imagine we are going much lower. Let's see what the chat's saying. Lee, Crypto Guy, said, you said a few streams back about tokens that will be connected to property and collectibles, for example. I think my point, I say a lot on streams to be fair, but I think my point is is that long-term crypto needs to move into an adoption phase. It needs to be actually used for things. There's already one, I think is it Vive, which is a collectibles. It's got like the Batman collection, Spider-Man, stuff like that, digital collectibles. I think stuff like that's going to become a bigger part of the market. Bitcoin back at the 200-day moving average. Hopefully we hold that. If we hold that and we bounce specifically off that, that is an amazing entry for anyone that's watching. Need to let the market calm down. I don't think you could be entering trades when all this volatility is going on, because Bitcoin could drop to 102k tonight easily. All it takes is a headline or Powell to say something else that doesn't make sense. Powell says that members were far from united about the central bank's next move. But Goldman Sachs says they expect another rate cut in December. So let's see what the stock market's reacting to that. Yeah, stock market selling off a little bit. Nasdaq selling off a little bit. It's just crazy overreaction. Russell selling off. But yeah, slap bang off the 200-day moving average. Interestingly, futures isn't following, which is quite annoying. In fact, futures is going up. Futures is now up over 112k. So it doesn't look like we're going to fill that CME gap tonight. And basically what this shows you, so why there's a big spread, for anyone new to the streams, we have covered this before, but CME is where institutional hedge funds, banks, big players go to trade Bitcoin. The CME exchange is where they trade. It's normally higher than the spot price. That normally tells you there's a lot of institutional demand for Bitcoin and they're willing to pay a premium to trade Bitcoin, because they can't use Binance, they can't use Bybit or anything like that. But it also just highlights the clear manipulation on centralized exchanges, the clear manipulation by Binance, less so Bybit, but they're all basically a bit of a racket, if I'm honest. And this is why Borg, for example, decided to pull off centralized exchanges and go DEX only, because that pure manipulation of, that literally was Powell spoke, said something, and they crashed the markets within seconds of it, because they just use it as an excuse to dump price, so that tomorrow morning Bitcoin dropped to 109k because Powell said blah blah blah. It was nothing to do with Powell. It was all to do with the centralized exchange manipulating price via the market makers, and that's why all the other cryptos sell off at the exact same time. The one thing I would say is, if this continues, this spread, and it grows, we'll probably see the price on Binance reverse later tonight. So this will just be a fake out, and we'll get a nice reversal. The fact that we've bounced off the 200-day moving average, if we hold that, that's really bullish for me. And if so, the S&P and the Nasdaq are selling off right now, but if Meta, Microsoft, and I can't remember who else is posting earnings tonight, but if they all post massive beats, Google, then the stock market will rally and we'll be fine. Alright, let's see what else Powell is saying. Give me 2 minutes and I will be right back. All right, let's quickly check in, and yeah, this is a crazy overreaction. Doesn't look like anything new has came out, to be fair. Bitcoin looks like it's bouncing. It'll probably close this gap with the CME. CME's now dropped as we've been speaking, which is pretty bullish. I think we've filled the CME gap now. That's crazy. That literally has just happened in the last 5 minutes. They've just narrowed the gap. Literally in 2 minutes. So that is very bullish. They have literally just dumped the CME price in a 1 minute candle. Yeah, in a 1 minute candle. Literally filled the CME gap. So, very bullish. We needed that gap filled before we move higher. Let's see what price is doing. And they've narrowed that gap as well. So we've now got CME trading at $110,700. Binance $110,200. So to me, that is actually clearing the decks. We've liquidated some longs. I would imagine we'll see headlines of how many crypto longs just got liquidated. We have filled the CME gap, and we are now clear to head higher, I would say. Although Kobayashi is saying there's a clear divide. It doesn't really matter because Powell will not be there next year. So let's see. All right, well, I think, to be honest, I think that's most of the action pretty much done. I think Fed's cut 25 basis points. QT ends 1st of December. I think there will be some more stealth QE coming in the next couple of weeks to get us through then. We have massive tech earnings tonight, tomorrow night, and Trump, Xi Jinping from China on Friday to get us a trade deal. By Friday night, I think we could be in a very bullish position, and we will be ready to head much, much higher in price. I would be very cautious for the rest of the week. I think the markets could chop everybody up. We've seen it tonight already. That move in the CME gap is actually insane, and it keeps actually dropping, which is now means it's lower than the Binance price. Just crazy chop. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you for joining us for the special Fed live stream. We'll be back with more live streams in the next couple of days. A lot happening, and hopefully we're going to get some bullish news before the end of the week. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back soon.
I've been